Coming up on Extra Credit, we discover what goes into making your favorite sports field, make our own nature journals, learn where plants get their green color from, and discover where your favorite fruits and vegetables come from. Keep watching to learn more about the great outdoors. Welcome to Extra Credit, where we meet interesting people, explore new ideas, and discover fun places together. I'm your host, Chase, and I can't wait to learn with you guys. Have you ever wondered why the grass you feel when you fumble a football or kick a soccer ball feels different than the grass in your yard? That's because, well, it is different. Careful science and planning goes into laying the special grass you find on an athletics field. Our buddy, Genesis, visits Michigan State University to learn more.
Are you curious about careers in science? Hi, I'm Genesis, and I'm here with Amy Foudy, the Athletic Turf Manager at Michigan State University. So, Amy, tell me what you do here.
I'm the Athletic Turf Manager for the Intercollegiate Athletic Department here at Michigan State University. Myself and my staff take care of all the different athletic fields for the department: baseball, softball, soccer, and of course the football facilities for the football team. Each sport has a different level of playability, so any field or surface that the athletes are playing on needs to be safe. So this is called a field scout, and basically it tells me the volume of water in the soil. When you're looking at baseball, you want to have the ball bounce on the grass or the dirt in a certain way. When you're playing soccer, you want the ball to roll smoothly across the surface. When you're playing football, you want really good, strong footing so that they can dive and make plays.
So tell me, what's the science behind turf grass management?
Science behind turf grass management is basically like growing any other plant.
This is gonna take all my strength.
If you are helping your mom and dad grow plants in a garden, you have to water it, you have to fertilize it, and you gotta have the right soils to grow what you want.
Okay, it says 32.6.
So this area is nice and moist, and I don't need to worry about watering it. We combined science of growing turf and grass and soils with the art of maintaining fields.
What's the most rewarding part of your job?
The most rewarding part of our job is that we set the stage for greatness. 7 times a year, we fill this stadium with 75,000 people. When you talk about the big game, the big plays, that's what we do. We set the stage for greatness.
I had a great time learning about turf management with Amy Foudy. Explore your possibilities.
Have you ever wondered about the type of creatures living in your own backyard? Today is the day to find out. Grab a piece of paper, get your hands dirty, and go on an adventure with your family. Try looking in trees, grass, or bushes and find as many types of leaves or animals as you can and make your very own nature journal. Here's how.
Curiosity and wonder. Let's discover together. It's Science Wow!
My name's Dave, and this is my nature journal. I use it to write down observations about the environment around me. Some things I've been recording for years, and I'm always starting new observations that will help me better understand my environment. Today I'm going to show you how to make your own nature journal and start making observations in your backyard. Let's get started. If you don't have a spare notebook or journal, you can easily make one by folding a stack of paper down the middle and stapling the center. Feel free to get creative with the cover of your journal. Now that we have something to write with, let's make our first observation. This can be done nearly anywhere. And for my journal, we're going to look at a small patch of grass with multiple species. Using a string or some sticks or some grass, I'm going to make a circle about the size of a basketball. We're going to be measuring the biodiversity of this circle. Biodiversity is a variety of living things in one area. We're going to draw and take notes on every living or non-living thing in this circle. Are you ready? It's important to title your observations and include information like date, weather, and time. Now I'm going to start drawing. Your drawings don't have to be perfect, just recognizable to you, in case you want to look up the species on the internet or ask a teacher. Feel free to add color, notes, or measurements to your drawings to help give more information. So a lot of times when I don't know what something is, I will grab that item and really bring it close so that I can make sure that I can see all the detail. Feel free to get into your circle here, pick up what you can, feel it around, maybe note what it feels like. There's really no limit to the amount of detail that you can add to your journal page through notes or through drawing. A lot of times, the more you add, the better you can recall the information later. This type of observation you can take to many different areas around your yard, around anywhere that you can find nature. It's really amazing to find 7 different species in this small sample size, and then we can replicate this in different places depending on what you find. I hope you had fun with this one. Let's start another. Find an interesting tree or bush in your area that has buds or leaves on it, and we're going to document the changes of that bud or leaf over time. Much like our first journal entry, the more information you can add, the better. In addition to my drawing, I'm including notes on the number of buds per stem, the color of the buds and stem, and the actual size of my sample. I then drew an up-close version of one of those buds, which revealed that each individual bud was a new leaf. I can repeat this process every couple weeks to see how the buds progress. By late spring, they should be full-grown maple leaves. And come fall, the leaves will turn beautiful colors as the tree prepares to go dormant for winter. We have time for one last observation, and I think you're really gonna like this one. Using this feeder, we're going to record every animal that visits for a snack. If you'd like to make a bird feeder along with us, you'll need some supplies. Some kind of base like a pine cone or toilet paper tube, some kind of paste like shortening or peanut butter, something for the animals to eat like seeds or a low-sugar cereal, and string. First, you're gonna smother the tube with the sticky stuff, then roll it in the seeds. Once it's got a good coating, attach a string, and you're ready to hang it up. Choose a spot that's close enough to see, but not too close so that the birds are afraid to visit. You can also use binoculars to get a super up-close view of the feeder. Now we need to set up our journal. I'm going to make a simple table with the type of animal on the left and the number of visits on the right. Each time a new animal visits, I'm going to make a tally next to that name. Now we wait, but it shouldn't take long. In just 30 minutes time, our feeder was visited by 2 chickadees and a sparrow. Repeat this observation at different times of year or even different times of day to see how it changes. It's important to know all the different animals that live around your home. That's all the time we have for today. I hope we inspired you to create your own nature journal and to start recording the natural world around you. There are hundreds of ideas of more nature journaling online for you too. Until next time, good luck with your journaling.
You might know, plants get their well-known green color through a process called photosynthesis. Well, our friends at Believe It or Not have some more interesting facts about photosynthesis and respiration in trees. Take a look.
Hey, welcome. We're in the middle of one of nature's most amazing chemical laboratories. There are thousands, millions of chemical reactions around. You can almost hear those molecules buzzing as we speak. So stay tuned, because today we're going to talk a little bit about 2 really fascinating reactions: photosynthesis and respiration.
All of this phenomenal chemistry comes from almost one source: the sun. It's 93 million miles away, but it drives almost all of the energy, life-giving energy on this planet.
And only a tiny percentage of the light hits Earth, and only a tiny percentage of that light is absorbed by trees and green plants, and it's that energy that runs the ecosystems on our planet.
That energy only takes 8.5 minutes to get to Earth, but the energy from the sun can be transferred through the ecosystem for years.
How do trees capture solar energy? Well, that's a pretty complicated set of physics and chemistry. Green plants and trees can't really use energy in the form of light.
Now, the process of converting that light energy into chemical energy is called photosynthesis.
Now that's a word that almost all of us have heard before.
Photosynthesis is a two-part word. The photo part of the word means light, and the synthesis part means to make. So something is made using light energy. Do you know what that is, Georgia?
Glucose.
You mean like glue, sort of?
No, like sugar.
Oh,
Like dextrose, maltose, fructose, all those oses.
sugars.
It's sugars.
Sugar, or glucose, is the product of a complicated chemical dance we call photosynthesis. Let's take a look at this photosynthesis dance with the help of the Lansing Derby Vixens. We have three basic atoms in this dance. They're carbon atoms in black, oxygen atoms in blue, and finally hydrogen atoms in yellow. These three types of atoms get together to form two kinds of molecules, carbon dioxide and water. Out in the natural world, these atoms and molecules are just randomly floating around, minding their own business. But when we're talking about the photosynthesis process, these atoms gather together in the photofactory commonly called the leaf. We have the water molecules coming in from the roots and carbon dioxide from the air. Here's where the magic happens. When the leaf is exposed to sunlight, those molecules reassemble into a carbon ring with those oxygen and hydrogens coming along for the ride. The result? Glucose is produced.
It's important to remember that photosynthesis produces glucose. It's not so much the oxygen.
Yeah.
Many of us think that trees are critical oxygen producers on our planet, but think about it that just a minute. What's most of the earth covered with?
That's right, water.
Glucose isn't the end of our energy adventure. Let's take a look at a chemical process called respiration.
Respiration is essentially the reverse of photosynthesis, and glucose is like a battery. It stores energy until it's needed. When the glucose molecule breaks apart, energy is released. Atoms reform into carbon dioxide and water and go off on their merry way.
Almost everything respires, and it's a chemical reaction, the reverse of photosynthesis, and photosynthesis stores all of that energy for all the life that occurs on Earth. So it's a pretty important process.
Okay, I get it. So ecosystems depend on the sun for all that energy, which is trapped, stored, and then later used for all kinds of processes for growing and doing other stuff, right?
Right.
So it's kind of like two different processes, photosynthesis and respiration, the energy sisters, if you will.
The energy sisters. I like that. And that's right, Georgia. In fact, all the energy that we're using right now to watch this video or to eat or play or run down the street or anything else that we do was captured by green plants, and that's where it came from.
That's awesome.
Just awesome.
Really awesome.
It's awesome.
We are going to be making this lovely drawing here together where not only is it colorful and artistic and drawing a tree, but also focusing on some words that describe the things that we're thankful for. So the first thing we're going to do is, of course, draw our tree. So grab your pencil and your sheet of paper and we'll get started. So we'll begin by drawing our ground line, and that can be sloping or straight, it's up to you. And then what I like to do is start by drawing that tree trunk and have these lines that are kind of going out almost like a Y. So if you think of a capital Y and you think about how the top parts would be kind of these two branches that I have here. And what we'll do after this is we'll continue to use that Y method and make the following branches that we add on to these two main branches using that Y as the base, and we'll just continue that Y technique. And so you can keep going about it by adding in these, Ys that might be a little bit different than a perfect Y. They can be a little bit wonky and uneven, of course, leaning all sorts of which ways, however you want to do it. But one thing that you want to consider is as those tree branches get further and further away from that tree trunk, you're going to be wanting to make them get smaller and smaller. So the ones on the very, very furthest away from that trunk that are far away from those branches, they should be getting smaller and smaller. And make it so that these are stretching off to the edge of the page so we don't actually really see them, see the very end or the tips of them, because it's so big we're just really seeing the tree trunk and the base of the tree branches. Alright, I'm just going to fix my tree trunk there with my eraser. From here we are going to now fill in the tree trunk and the branches. The main tree trunk, you can just write I am grateful for and then fill it in. So whatever you are grateful for, you just go ahead and fill the branches in with those things. And feel free to customize it. You could draw little pictures, like I wrote art. Instead of writing art, I could also draw a picture of a paint palette or a paintbrush. Family, I could have drawn out the members of my family. So just think about different ways that you can really be creative here. Maybe you add little leaves that are pictures of the different things that you listed here, but you can also, if you want to, you can stretch out the text so that it really stretches across the entire branch that the word is on. And so you'll see here and me writing this friends and kind of stretching out those letters kind of like that. So it's up to you how you want to write the text. If you want to be really creative and add some interesting fonts, you definitely can. And then after you finish your gratitude tree, then in the negative spaces, the negative shapes that are surrounding the tree, you're just going to fill in with a different color for each different shape. So you can use the same set of colors or mix it up throughout the whole piece. It's up to you.
Have you ever wondered where food comes from? Learn how Dr. Catherine uses NASA satellite data to show the health and location of crops around our world. Maps created from this data helps people become more food secure. And guess what? You can help too. Here's more.
Did you hear that? I think it's almost lunchtime. But have you ever wondered where food comes from? Why do some of the best oranges come from Florida and peaches come from Georgia? Does it matter where food grows?
Where food grows is really important because we want to make sure that everybody in the world has enough food and nobody is hungry. My job at NASA Harvest is to help people around the world become more food secure, which means that they have enough water, enough nutrients to ensure that they can survive in case of a drought and have access to food. We can see farms all around our world using satellite imagery. They can look extremely different depending on the rainfall, temperature, and soils, and their shapes and sizes. So you can find really large farms in places like Iowa and Illinois that are growing corn. And then you might find irregular, very small fields in Africa where there's a dependency on smallholder agriculture. The environment and certain geographic features affect how well plants grow. Certain geographic features are important for specific crops. For example, in states like Iowa and Illinois, farms are very flat, expansive, and the weather and environment are great for growing corn. Likewise, in China and in India, the environment is suitable for production of rice. Rice needs hot and humid climates and is best suited for regions that have high humidity, prolonged sunshine, and an ensured supply of water.
Orange, glad you asked. Having an eye in the sky is beneficial to farmers, but what does that data mean? Ground and climate conditions play an important role in determining where and when certain crops are grown. But how do we know what grows better where? What does the satellite data tell us?
So we use the images that come from satellites to map and monitor farms on Earth by using the information contained in every single pixel. A pixel is the smallest dot that makes up an optical satellite image and basically determines how detailed the picture of Earth is from that satellite. So the size of a pixel is really important. A high-resolution satellite image enables us to see different features on the ground. For example, you can distinguish between a building and a tree in close proximity. So if there's a tree right next to a building, you can distinguish it. As the resolution gets lower, it becomes more difficult to distinguish between these different features, especially when they're close to each other. So for example, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a crop field, a park, and a forest. It would all just be vegetation. So when we use satellite imagery, we have to translate it into information that others can understand. And sometimes this requires using a map. A map has a key that has symbols that tell us what is in the map. So when we develop a map from the imagery that we've collected, we create these color-coded maps giving us ideas of what places might be experiencing drought, like red areas, and areas that are borderline drought that would be represented with orange, and areas that are flourishing that it could be green, for example. So satellite data are actually really important for understanding how well crops are doing. And so we can compare like this season with previous seasons, as well as give a forecast and a prediction for what might happen at the end of the season. Like, will we have enough? Will we have the same as usual? Will we have less than usual? Or will we have more than enough that then could be exported and support other countries that might not have enough? So we do get a lot of data from satellites. It is really important because we can see and understand what's happening in larger areas. But what makes that possible is a lot of ground information. We need to know what is on the ground in order to understand what's in the satellite data. And so we go to the field a lot with our phones, our GPSs. There's other ground information like from weather stations that are on the ground that are used. So we can evaluate, validate, and make sure that what our satellite data is telling us is in fact true by looking at vegetation conditions.
So it's important to make sure that the satellite data pairs nicely with the data that's on the ground. And you can help NASA do that by using the Land Cover Adopt a Pixel tool on the Globe Observer app. Now you know how NASA helps us get food in our world. I'm gonna go see what's growing in my garden. See you next time.
Did you know that some of the plants living here in Michigan came here uninvited? Species like this can hurt the environment they take over or invade and hurt the species already living there. Next, we learn about one invasive species, autumn olive.
Hi, I am Pam Howd. I'm an environmental education specialist with the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy. And today, we're going to learn about autumn olive, the #1 invasive plant in Michigan. So invasive plants are those non-native plants that come from other countries, that are from other states even, that are migrating their way up here to Michigan. In the case of autumn olive, it came from Asia in the 1830s, and it was used to stabilize soil erosion and used as food for wildlife because it has berries that are edible. And you can make jam out of the berries. They're little tiny red berries with a delicate covering of these little silver flecks. It can get 20 feet in height, and it has many, many unique characterizations. One is the silvery leaves. You can look close and you see the little itty bitty tiny silver flecks gleaming back at you. And the same with the stem. You can see the little tiny silvery little flecks on the branch. And this plant, when it flowers in the springtime, smells like jasmine flowers. There's nothing quite like it. It has a wonderful perfume. And the leaves and twigs are alternate on the stems. They're not across from one another. They're alternates with wicked thorns. Always wear gloves. Highly recommended that you wear leather gloves due to the fact this thing has thorns. Even the young plants have thorns. Autumn olive, the young shrubs, 2 or 3 feet in height, can be removed easily with just a shovel. Truthfully, the best way to remove it though is to cut it down to the stem and in the fall and put Roundup on it. One of the reasons this plant is so dang successful and grows literally everywhere in the world is because of this feature. It fixes nitrogen on its roots, which allows it to make food in just many very diverse arid climates, harsh climates. Any injury or anything that causes a snap in the roots or even a nick in the stem, another autumn olive will pop up. It spreads both by seeds and runner roots. If you like this video, tweet us a photo of what you've learned to @MichiganEagle, E-G-L-E, or leave a comment. And please check out the great content on michigan.gov/Eagle Classroom. Thank you for watching.
I had so much fun exploring the great outdoors with you. See you next time.
This program is made possible in part by Michigan Department of Education, the State of Michigan, and by viewers like you.